Weencast, a Ween podcast with Shane and Rory.
Hey, what's up? This is Shane.
And this is Rory.
And this is Weencast. And we welcome you to a new episode. What is up? It is great to be back.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Happy March. It's been a little while. But it's all good. We're back. And we got an awesome episode for you tonight.
Yeah, man.
We're back and we're going back.
Oh, yeah.
Roughly 20 and a half years to October 6th, 2002.
So this is going to be 10/6/2002 at John and Peters in New Hope, PA.
Hell yeah, John and Peters, yo, shout out.
And we're going to be talking about two shows because this was two shows in the same day, an early show and a late show.
Yes.
So a lot of stuff to go through here, but it's going to be great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, this is and at John and Peters, and we'll go into all the details, but small venue in New Hope, Pennsylvania. So this is a rarity. This is one that not a lot of people would have been able to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. And so this is a special one for us for sure. But yeah, man. So should we just dive in and get going on this or what?
Yes, absolutely.
So anyway, so the first thing that I guess Shane needs to be kind of brought up is that this is actually just roughly 2 months after Claude's infamous car accident in August 7th, 2002.
Yeah, man. So there was one show where they played just like them with the DAT machine to just kind of like, do something. But this is them kind of coming back with a replacement drummer while Claude is out from his accident.
Yes. The show must go on.
Absolutely.
And so, there's a lot of things, I don't know that we have all the definitive answers. Ween had shows booked and they were gearing up for Quebec to start recording Quebec. And, we're playing more and more of Quebec all at their shows. And so they had shows that fall already on the books, ready to roll. And then the accident happened, and then they ended up doing, this is actually the day before they do a 2-day run at Bowery Ballroom as a benefit for Claude.
So those shows kind of became like the benefit for Claude or the concerts for Claude. This night and this day and this night for 10/6 sort of winds up being like a warm-up for those shows at the Bowery.
Yeah, totally. So, they did the right thing, obviously, and turned those shows into concerts for Claude to raise money for him. And then you obviously got to have a drummer. This is the difference between a couple years earlier when Glenn took his little hiatus. They didn't replace Glenn.
That's true.
They let the keys go.
There are some shows where there's no keyboardist, and then there's a couple where they have a fill-in keyboard player. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of replacement, but they do a whole tour.
Yep.
Without a keyboardist.
Yep.
And it's they're worse off for it, first off, because Glenn is amazing and the keyboard really rounds out the music. But ultimately, as far as a fundamental part of the songs, the drum, obviously, I think, tops the keyboard as far as that goes. So it's not like they could have said, oh, we're going to do these like actual Ween concert, like benefit for Claude without a drummer.
Right.
Right. So you got to bring in a drummer. And of course, so as you mentioned, these two shows at John and Peters were basically the warm up for the drummer to make sure he's ready to go to like really give it his all at Bowery Ballroom to like put on like top notch shows.
Right.
And so, of course, this drummer is none other than Josh Freese.
Josh fucking Freese, man.
Yeah, man. So you want to tell people a little bit about Josh Freese?
Yeah, well, Josh Freese is an absolute monster. This guy is amazing.
A demon of the drums, as it were.
This guy eats drums for breakfast.
He eats them and spits them out and then plays them again and then eats them again.
So I don't think there was any big bands that Josh Freese is known to be like a main member of. But this guy has been a fill-in and hired gun drummer for some amazing acts. Besides Ween, we're talking, I think the biggest one is probably Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
This guy drummed for fucking Guns N' Roses. Like, that's fucking nuts. Devo. So, like, when Devo goes on tour, I'm pretty sure still to this day, when there's a Devo tour, it's Josh Freese. Dude, I love fucking Devo. But a
Yeah.
couple of other ones. If you look at his Discogs page or Wikipedia page, he's played with a Perfect Circle. He's played in the Dwarves, Nine Inch Nails. I mean, just like
Wow.
all kinds of fucking amazing bands that he's been associated with. And I think he's probably, I'm just spitballing this, but he's probably in like the top 10 or top 20 of like all time, like hired gun drummers. I mean, because
Yeah.
anytime you start talking about some of those like fill-in guys, his name will come up.
Mhm.
So it's really awesome that he was the dude who filled in for Claude in that little piece of Ween history.
Yeah, dude. And, and we'll obviously, as we go through the shows, we'll talk in more depth. But,
Mhm.
to be a hired gun drummer, really to do it successfully, like you have to be able to learn songs quickly and then also be able to pivot to whatever the next act you're joining. So,
Yeah.
so it really says a lot for him to be able to, and they even say it a little bit during one of the shows that basically they threw like 50 songs at Ween throws 50 songs at Josh Freese just like within days of this concert.
Yeah, man.
Within days of these two shows in John and Peters, like just earlier that week, a couple days earlier, they're like, "All right, Josh, we're in a couple days. We're going to teach you 50 Ween songs,"
Yep.
and that's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
That's insane. So yeah, dude. So Josh Freese is on board, and so this is really notable because you got these two sets, these two shows at John and Peters. You got the Bowery Ballroom shows, and then I believe there's two for there's one for Halloween and one for the day after, I believe. So you're talking Josh Freese is plays drums for Ween for 6 shows.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool that we got in on a little piece of history.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to think like, did we realize when we were like, all right, we're going to go to this show? Did we know that Claude was? I guess we would have known that he was hurt by then, and would we have known that he wasn't going to be a part of that before we got there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I knew because I knew of Claude's accident.
Yeah, because this is 2 months, basically almost 2 months after that, so we would have known that
Yeah.
even back in 2002. Like that word would have spread. Anyway, John and Peters. We've talked about John and Peters before. If you want to check out our interview with Fred Moore, we go into a lot of detail about John and Peters because Fred ends up becoming a huge part of the recording apparatus there, recording a lot of the music played there, but also playing there himself. Ween, John and Peters is basically considered to be one of those like Ween grew up there, although it's not completely true because really that's more like some of the New Jersey venues that go back. They played a lot more like in the early days, but Ween plays John and Peters 16 times. So, which has got to be one of the most times they've played at any one venue.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much considered to be like, Ween from New Hope, and that's sort of the token New Hope club, bar. For anybody in another part of the country, I mean, and we've said this on the show before, but, it's basically just a little dive bar.
Yeah, dude.
Very, very cool, awesome place. Absolutely amazing, intimate venue. But it's just always had that New Hope connection with the band, and that's Main Street New Hope.
Yeah, so they played the John and Peters 16 times, which is the second most of any venue, the most being City Gardens. And City Gardens is one of the places in Trenton, New Jersey, that's more so credited to be like, that's where Ween got their start.
Right.
But John and Peters is obviously right up there. And the other thing about John and Peters is Ween played there 16 times, but different members of Ween would show up and play, and they would go under different names.
Yeah, man.
And you saw them as Jimmy Wilson Group, and that was all but one of them, I believe. And then so there was all different permutations. So if you included those kind of things, like, and I don't know if it's Dean Ween Group or Gene Ween, or I don't know if exactly. I'd have to look at all that. But when you add up all those additional shows, I mean, they're at John and Peters all the time.
Yeah.
So John and Peters is definitely up there. And the cool thing is also, though, they only play there 3 more times after this. So this is 2002, and then they play there the last time in 2004. So they haven't played at John and Peters in almost 20 years. And so this was one of the last shows they played there. So
yeah, and it's a little tough because you're talking about 2002. This is right around that time period where they're getting to be a little bit big for just a like hometown bar. If you're going to put, hey, Ween on the website or whatever on the poster outside, I mean, you're going to have the place swarmed in no time.
So that really, and that's a great segue to the next part of this conversation, which is like,
right.
how did we hear about it and how did we go about and how did we come to get there and all that. So yeah, dude, this was hastily thrown together.
Yes.
Like literally just I think a few days beforehand that they were like, we want to do, we had to bring a new drummer on board and we're going to do these benefit shows, concerts for Claude. They're already on the books and we want to do these concerts for them. So we need to have a warm up, right? And so they throw these together really at the last minute. And so you want to talk a little bit about that because I know that you would have heard about this first and then told me about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is tough because my only memory is really of like that day. So I would love to hear if someone can confirm like when this was actually announced. I would love to hear it, but like it could not have been any more than like a few days. It may have even been, this was Sunday. It may have even been like that Friday. The Friday before that this was announced, like, hey, we'll be at John and Peter's this weekend, that sort of thing. The only thing I can really remember is just trying to get my act together and see if I can put something together for like that day. And, I'll just say my side of the story, which there isn't really one. I remember making phone calls that morning or that like afternoon and just nobody was either available or wanted to go or, it was just like, no. You have to remember it's Sunday. So, hey, work the next day, yada, 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 blah, 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 bullshit. So it's like, it's tough to get people to do something on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And now this is 2 shows. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it there for both of them. And it was just trying to get something together for that Sunday night. And from my memory, I wasn't able to make it to the John and Peter show that they played in 2001 where they did the complete album of God, Ween, Satan, and it really bothered me. That was sort of the same kind of thing. That was only announced a few days ahead of time, and I was pissed off that I didn't make it to that, and this was one of those times where it's like, I'm fucking going, and if I have to go myself, I will.
And so I don't remember if I just found out about it the day of, or maybe you told me about it like 2 days prior. But either way, I know that if I had known about it before the day, I had just discounted even going. I worked on Sunday and I was up in State College, 3.5 hours away, 3.5 plus hours away, depending on your traffic and all that stuff. So I probably would have just discounted even trying to go. Oh, so last minute. But I know that, so the story goes, I was working at the Goppers at the time. It's a pizza shop in State College. It's no longer there. Shout out to Goppers and Gop and everybody.
Yeah, Goppers for life.
Love you guys, Goppers for life. And I was managing the place at that time, and Amy, my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, we lived out in a cabin in a place called Spruce Creek, about 30 minutes west of State College. And we basically arranged it at the pizza shop that we worked almost all the same shifts. Just because we were both coming in from so far away, it was like, and I think most of that time we only had one car. Because I bought it was like the poop ship. I had this brown ass fucking, I think I might have even called it the poop ship. It lasted for like a month because I fucked it up because like I didn't put oil. I was young and dumb and didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I never replaced the oil or checked it. So I just burned that engine to shit. But, so I think for most of the time we were at the cabin, we just had one car. So it was kind of like, dude, we have to work together. And anyway, so we get in there and you must have called me like just then or around that time to be like, dude, I'm going to get into this show. Like, can you go? Can you make it? And I don't think you told me about it on the phone and I didn't give you an answer on the phone. It was more like, I'm pretty sure I didn't. In fact, I know I didn't. It was more like, I don't know, man. I'll see what I can do. And you're like, I'm going regardless, right? So I get off the phone with you and I'm at Goppers. It's me, Gop, Amy, and this girl Crystal. And that was within the Sunday shift, the girl Crystal. And the thing about a Sunday at Goppers is it actually gets decently busy, but we keep a pretty skeleton crew. And so anyhow, but the great thing about Goppers is that it's definitely like a hippie pizza shop.
Right.
All about live music and going to concerts and stuff. And Gopper, we actually interview Gop. It's on our Patreon, but Gop's been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds total. I got to say 500 plus at least, maybe 1,000 or more total concerts. The guy's been to a lot of shows. And so anyway, so I'm getting off the phone with you and I'm being like, oh man, I want to go, but I can't go. Here I am. I'm working. What do I do? And Crystal, who She was our counter host. We respectfully called them counter hose. An abbreviation. It was an abbreviation. We didn't mean anything bad by it. But she was like, sitting there, and she was this cool, like dready hippie chick, and wearing like big dresses and big dready hair. But she was like really cool, really nice. She was like one of those really nice, sweet people. Always had something nice to say. We actually her nickname was sort of like Krista. Like you didn't call her Crystal. You didn't just say, "Oh, hey, Crystal." It was like Krista. And so I'm off the phone, and I'm in the front, in the kitchen, and she's right there. So I'm like, should I go? I don't know. Like, I gotta work. What are you guys gonna do without me? Like, New Hope's so far away, and like the concert's in just a few hours. Because at this point, like this was like 6 p.m. This was later than 6 p.m. at this point. The concert starts at 10 p.m. And this is like, I'm like, because basically this is all like the last second. This is like, I got to make a decision.
Yeah, man.
And so Crystal is like, Rory, you gotta go, So she just lays it out like very positive, just like, you gotta go. So I was just like entranced, and I'm just like, you're right. This is like a once in a lifetime thing. I gotta do this. So I go to Gop, and I'm like, Gop, Ween's playing in New Hope like tonight. Can we do this? And he's just like, Rory, go.
It's awesome, man.
And from that point, I shit you not, I am basically in the car within 5 minutes, and I'm borrowing Amy's car. I don't even know how she got home. How the hell she get home that night? I don't even know. So it's like, and I was like the deadbeat bum, and she was like, I was stepping up, is what I will say that, right? I was stepping up. So she was the one with the car and like all that.
Oh, man.
And so literally she's like, Rory, take my car, right? I get in the car within 5 minutes of making that decision, hit the highway 3.5 hours later. And this is the amazing thing. I didn't stop once. I didn't even have a ticket.
There was nothing that you could buy like ahead of time. It was just like you just went and, you kind of hope for the best. I remember being worried about that. Like, am I going to be able to get in when I get there?
Yeah.
And
so, I literally park on Main Street, New Hope, walk down to the venue, go in, I get my ticket. Like somehow I got a ticket like last second, which really speaks to the last minute nature of the show, right? Like it had to have been very last minute for no one to know about it. For me to be able to get a ticket, I mean, like at that point. And I walk in and I see you up at the other end of the main room.
Yep.
And I get up there, and I know that you didn't know I was coming for sure because you saw me and were like, dude, like it was definitely a pleasant surprise. You were hopeful, I guess, but didn't know.
Dude, I was probably only there myself for maybe an hour, maybe even less, like 45 minutes. I just remember getting up to the sidewalk. There was no like line or anything. Here I'm just imagining the worst, like on my way there. And it was probably like, it's, an hour and a half to, hour and 45 or something like that from where I was living at the time, which was Fleetwood. And I just remember going up to the sidewalk, and there was a girl at the door, and I was just like, may I come in? And she was like, yeah. And it was just like, damn, they gave me anyway, they gave me a little ticket stub that like they had made, like it was just sort of like a little like homemade ticket, and they're like, there you go. And I still have it to this day, so I'll post pictures and shit. And I was, I was in. And then I was hanging around and just sort of, maybe I talked to like one or two people, but like I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
I probably recognized a couple of people, but, not that I knew any of them or anything like that. And was just kind of like hanging around like, oh, here I am, like, gonna watch this show by myself. And you walked in, and I was just like, dude, like I could not believe that you had made it. I still to this day can't believe it.
Yeah, dude. And then literally like 1 minute later, they start.
Yeah, man.
So It was like nonstop drive. The minute I made the decision to come, nonstop drive to get there, and I get there 1 minute before the show starts. So that was serendipity, dude. So that was amazing. Like this is one of those shows where sometimes you have shows that the whole story of it and the experience of it sort of looms larger than the music itself. And this is definitely one of those shows. Because you have so many different elements going on here. You got the replacement drummer. It's a warm-up show. You got 2 shows in one day. You got Josh Freese. You got the epic story of me coming down. It's like all these things really layer in to make this like a very... And then John, and having been able, now that I can, we can say we saw Ween at John and Peters. You know what I mean? Like that's this is my only Ween show at John and Peters, actually, which is a little bit surprising, but they stopped going there in 2004. So I'm just glad to say that I got in there on one of the last shows at John and Peters in such an epic, crazy adventure.
I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for me. We always bring up the Jimmy Wilson group, but it's debatable if you can include that or whatever because it's under a different.
Yeah, it's not technically Ween.
It's under a different name. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean there really wasn't in all the years there really wasn't that many just quote unquote Ween shows. Yeah, we brought up 16 times, but that's really not that many, dude. When you stop and think about it for their sort of like hometown local bar, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, this was really the only time that we were there to see one of them.
So yeah, dude. I mean that's pretty cool in itself how all that went down. And so just to be clear, then we went to the second show and we did not go to the early show. But we are going to take some time to talk about it, just because we just feel like because it's two shows, John and Peters, the same day. We feel like we went back and listened to both of them. We figured like we should talk about them a little bit, but we didn't actually make it to the early show. So just so that's clear. So we're going to talk about it, but we weren't actually there.
Yeah.
So I guess we can share a little bit about John and Peters. It's a dive bar. Basically, it's a dive bar, and we say that with respect.
Of course.
But it's also a classic like music venue, especially for like this county and like sort of the tri-state area or whatever. Some pretty awesome acts have played there over the years. But anyway, you go into it, and I'm not going to describe it all in great detail, and it's been a little while since I've been there because I don't live in the area anymore. But you basically go in, and there's a bar on the right, and so there's an upper room, like an antechamber kind of thing, where that's the bar, and there's a little bit of space in there, but not a lot. And it's pretty small. It's a small place. But then you go down these stairs and like it's sort of like a doorway. And then that's the main hall. That's like the main room with the stage. And again, that is like not very big. I mean, maybe 40 feet wide and maybe like 100 feet long or something. Like it's a pretty small, it's a bar.
Yeah.
It's not a concert venue.
No.
And the stage must take up like more than a third of the whole space or something like that. Like the stage takes
Sounds
up a
about
lot
right,
of the space.
yeah.
And so when you first get into the main hall, there is, a good amount of space in the beginning of the room. And then the stage basically takes up the middle left, like third of the room. And so there's kind of like one like aisle that you can walk down on the right side that has booths on one side and then little tables on the other side. And the little tables are right next to the stage. And then you can walk past that, keep going, and then eventually there's a little bit more space on the other side of the stage as well. And that's where we were.
Right.
So we were actually like we could reach out like Luke Skywalker style trying to get our lightsaber to Diener. Like we could have reached out and like high-fived him. That's how close we were to Diener.
Yeah, we were definitely on the Diener side, absolutely.
And so that was pretty cool. That was definitely the closest I've ever been at any venue because of how close you stand and you're literally like next. And the stage is like must be only like 6 inches above it's like barely a stage.
Yeah, it's raised up a little bit off the regular floor, but not by much, right?
Yeah, and so it's such an intimate place to see a show. And obviously it must have been pretty full, but I don't remember it being like packed like sardines.
Well, I just think that, the main thing that played into that is like we mentioned, I don't think it was really like announced. I just think there was the people who kind of found out about it, the local like Ween heads and a few of us that came from out of town because it was like, okay, if you found out about it, great. If not, sorry. So I'm sure with a little bit more notice, it would have been a lot more like packed.
Totally. But yeah, man. So that's kind of the setup. And we got in there and it's like, dude, like Wiener's like right there, and I'm too chicken to like have done anything about that. But like he was right there. And and anyway, so they start rocking. Let's step back and talk about the early show a little bit.
Yeah, man.
So do you want to go ahead and read the set list and I'll do the second set list?
I'd love to.
Oh, you do it then. You do it, man. You do it.
I'm dancing in the show tonight. The Golden Eel, Stallion Part 3, Piss Up a Rope, Take Me Away, Freedom of 76, Mr. Richard Smoker, Touch My Tutor, Don't Get Too Close to My Fantasy, Transdermal Celebration, Roses Are Free, Bananas and Blow, Push a Little Daisies, I Don't Want It, Marble Tulip Juicy Tree, Albino Sunburned Girl, Zoloft, Captain Fantasy, Dr. Rock, Pandy Fackler, Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, and Someday.
Nice. So a little, it clocks in at 93 minutes. So it definitely was a little bit short, and I know that there were people commenting about that. You can hear it when you listen to the show. And Diener says something to the effect of, "Hey man, we're coming back tonight. Like we got a second show." Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dude. Just to kind of go through some of the highlights and talk about it. I mean, you start with "I'm dancing in the show tonight," right?
Love it. Love it.
That is one of the more common openers, but it's pretty rare overall. So I'm dancing in the show tonight is a great way. It's a great way to start any show, even though it's fairly common for an opener because it's just a pretty rare tune. And I always felt like having that be it's like a great way to open up an album, right? It's the first song for the Mollusk.
Yeah, it definitely sort of like harkens back to that mollusk era. So, and without going back and looking at the brown based notes and stuff, probably the bulk of those times that they open with that are from the mollusk era.
Yeah, totally. And so they open up with that, and one of the things that we'll note is that there's not like too many like musical highlights for these two shows.
Right.
They're solid shows, and I don't want to say
Sure.
there's anything wrong with them.
No.
But I want to say Josh Freese, first off, puts himself really well on the drums. And we'll keep coming back to that as we sort of
Mm-hmm.
talk about some examples, I guess. But like
Right.
for someone who comes on board just a few days before and learns 50 songs, I mean, that's insane. So, but I do feel like they kind of play it safe on a lot of the songs
Yeah.
because of that, right? And that makes sense. Like, because it's like, hey, we just taught this guy. He's a hired gun and he's awesome. But if we just taught him these songs, let's not go off the deep end too much because then he might, we don't want to lose him.
Yeah, and there's not enough of the back and forth between them to like know what each other's gonna do yet.
Yeah, totally. One of the things that listening to the opening show, the recording is not all that great. And
Yeah, it's
so,
unfortunate because
yeah,
we're mentioning Josh Freese. You can hear the drums great.
dude, the drums are like the thing you hear the most,
Yeah, and that
like they're the
makes sense
loudest.
because it's such a small room. But unfortunately, this is kind of one of those shows where the vocals are pretty drowned out. There are sometimes, we're listening to these shows a lot lately, getting ready to do the episode, and I'll be playing it in the car, and there are some of the tracks where I can't even tell that the vocals are like on it at all.
Yeah, dude,
Like
you
I
have
just can't hear anything, vocal wise. It's a shame.
honestly the hang up I had one of the hangups I had in preparing for this show is that I really couldn't listen to it in my car because my car is so
Right.
loud that I just couldn't hear it. And so I had
Yeah.
to have it, I had to have like quiet space and be able to play it loud. And there's a lot of songs where you can barely hear Aaron. And then on Stallion Part 3, I'm listening to it and I'm thinking like there's something not quite right about the song. Like they don't quite, jam it out like like it wasn't quite to the level of the Stallion Part 3. And then I listened to it again a little more closely, and I think it was actually just that Diener's guitar was like, the levels or whatever were like really low. So it was like weird because there were other times when you could hear him just fine, but for parts of Stallion Part 3, like you really can't hear even Mickey's guitar all that loud. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like it's a little bit of a bummer as far as that goes. One of the early highlights that I thought was "Don't Get Too Close to My Fantasy." It's great. They end with the crowd basically going through the whole like verse a cappella. And I thought that was really cool because it's such a small
Yeah.
little intimate venue and like everyone
Right.
was just going through, the verse.
That's another thing about these recordings for both the early show and the late show is you can hear a lot of like talking and stuff. You can hear the crowd cheering and whatnot, obviously, and singing along for those like sections. But there's a lot of times like in between tracks where you can hear the people in the you can hear the
Yeah.
people in the crowd better than you can hear the band.
Well, yeah, no, I found that to be really true for the second show. We'll get back to
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
but but yeah, dude, no, so it was really really cool. Like, what a cool thing! Because "Don't Get Too Close to My
yeah,
Fantasy" is obviously a fairly common song, but it's still one of my faves. It takes me all the way back to "It's Just Pat,"
yeah, man,
and that was so cool.
totally.
I don't want it. This is the first time that's ever played live. I don't want it.
Yeah, man. It's amazing to think of, like we had mentioned, this is before Quebec is released, and they're starting to sort of roll out some of those Quebec songs.
Yeah, dude.
You know, earlier that year, you know, we talked about a couple of the other shows where those were played for the first time. And, you know, these shows are no exception. Even with Freese on drums, you got Transdermal Celebration, which was played.
This is the third time for that one.
Yeah, this is only the third time. And then I Don't Want It it's the first time it's ever played. And this is the morning show.
Yeah.
It's just awesome to think that even with a fill-in drummer, they're just going to roll out this song for the first time. It's fucking amazing.
You know, and that speaks to a couple things, their trust in Josh Freese and his quality. But the thing about, like, when Claude had his accident, they were ramping up for Quebec, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. And so
totally,
they're just like a train that, you know, can't slow down. And actually, one of the things that I love about I Don't Want It is, well, first off, it's the first time played ever played. It's the 80th time total. So it never was a song that was played often.
It's true.
And it's a really good first rendition. We've noticed, you know, if you're listening to our podcast, if you're a frequent listener, then from time to time, right, we bring up the fact that, they're introducing new songs and, you know, for the new album, whatever. And a lot of times, the first few times they play them, they're more rudimentary. They're not totally formed together. Zoloft is like that. I believe it was Asheville, North Carolina for April 19th, 2002 that I heard that. And that was one of the very first times it was played, the first time I ever heard it. And it felt like a little bit different. And so, you know, and that makes sense when you start playing a song live and it's a new song, you're sort of fleshing it out. But I Don't Want It actually sounds great.
Yeah, man.
It sounds like, I mean, without listening to 5 different versions of it and comparing them, you know, it sounds just like they've been playing it. Like it's awesome. So that's pretty cool. And that's probably the number one highlight of the first show.
Yeah.
And then, I want to give a recognition to Josh Freese on Pandy Fackler.
Yeah.
I really, you know, there were times in and out. His guitar, his drum is great throughout, but in particular on Pandy Fackler, it just felt like he wasn't missing a beat. And if I didn't know better, I wouldn't even have thought like it wasn't Claude. Also, Glenn.
Oh yeah.
I got to give Glenn a shout out. Glenn's Pandy Fackler's one of Glenn's, you know, keyboard songs.
Yep.
And that was pretty sweet. And that Penny Fackler's jammed out pretty good. In fact, right after the song, Jeaner's just like, "God damn!" So when you get Papa Jeaner saying "God damn," then you know it was a good version of the song. What other big ones? Well, Albino Sunburn Girl, pretty rare. Someday they finish up with Someday, which anymore that's kind of it's not as rare, I don't think, as it used to be. But this is the 12th time. Same thing with Zoloft. This is the 11th time Zoloft has played. They probably played Zoloft every single show that year,
right?
Or almost,
right.
Almost. I mean, because they didn't play a lot of shows because they did a little spring tour,
mm-hmm.
and then I think they did a couple shows, and then Claude's accident happened.
Right.
So they don't do a lot of shows in 2002, actually.
Right.
But at any rate, so those are some of the high points of the first show. You know, like we said, you know, it seems like they kind of take it safe on a lot of the songs, or all of them, or almost all of them, really. So unfortunately, it's not. You know, we're not trying to denigrate it, and it's still Ween, and it's still great, but they're not really. The jams aren't as jammy. They're not they're not taking as many risks.
Yeah, there's nothing that really gets too far out there, but that makes total sense.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, so that's the early show. You got anything else you want to mention about the early show before we move on?
No, I think it's just funny, like some of the things that, you know, can be heard like in between the songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Jeaner definitely gives a thank you to the New Hope Arts and Crafts Festival for having them, which is funny. It's like, what? You know? So, I don't know, maybe that was just something that was also going on that day.
Well, we'd like to thank the New Hope Arts and Crafts Festival for inviting us down here today. Fucking breakfast with me and some shit. supporting local community.
Yeah, dude, I was trying to figure that out because what we wouldn't have seen, it was 10 p.m., right? So we wouldn't have seen if there was stuff going on earlier in the day in the community for this festival by 10 p.m.
Mhm.
A little town's arts and craft festival ain't going to be rocking by then.
Yeah.
But but it makes me wonder how this all got put together because it was last
Yeah.
minute. They kind of probably
Mhm.
just went to John and Peters to be like, "Hey, man, can we get a show in?"
Right.
It's Sunday night, which maybe is it seems like it could be a quieter night. They don't have a lot of Sunday shows. There's not. That's another thing we could have looked up is how many times do they play on Sunday? There's not a lot.
Good point. Yeah, that's true too. And I think at the end of that first show, Gina also says something to the crowd like, don't get arrested or anything out there. Because obviously
Yeah.
he's thinking that some of the people are going to come back for the show in the evening.
Well, some
you know?
do. They ask that question in the second show,
Yeah,
and some
of
people
course.
cheer. Dude, I mean, even though the songs weren't like risky, like it weren't like outrageous and like whatnot, how awesome would that have been to be at both shows? Because they play a total of 46 different songs over the course of two shows in one day. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, man, should we move on to the late show?
Yeah,
I feel like we
please.
got, that's about all we need to say. We weren't actually at the early show, so we wanted to give
Right.
you a little bit of a highlights. So the late show. So we arrive. They start playing as soon as I get there. And you want me to go ahead and read the set list?
Please do.
All right, man. So again, this is there's only two songs replayed, and we'll touch base on those in a minute. So this set list is the Mollusk, the HIV song, Spinal Meningitis, Got Me Down, Buckingham Green, Back to Basin, Take Me Away, Waving My Dick in the Wind, Stroker Ace, Ice Castles, Voodoo Lady, Baby Bitch, Sarah, Spring Theme, Exactly Where I'm At, What Diener Was Talking About, Bananas and Blow, Ooh Va La, Booze Me Up and Get Me High, Fat Lenny, Ocean Man, I'll Be Your Johnny on the Spot, You Fucked Up, I Can't Put My Finger on It, Zoloft, Big Jim, and Buenos Tardes Amigo.
Nice.
So first off, booyah. Like
Oh yeah.
that's a good set list, man. That's a good set list.
Fuck yeah.
The two songs that were played at the both shows that day were Bananas and Blow and Zoloft. So those are the two.
And I think Take Me Away. There's Take Me Away is the first one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my bad. So there's three. My bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, when you're talking about they only repeated 3 songs.
So 45 unique songs in one day. That's got to be. I think that's a record actually for Ween. And we actually went through, and this is only the 7th time ever that they played 2 shows in the same day.
Right.
And even some of those, not to get into like talking about that for 10 minutes, but like some of those were like the first show was only like 10 songs, and we were like, okay, that we'll count that as a show, but that's a little bit short. But this is like 2 almost completely full length shows,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think we would be hard pressed to find them more songs in one day than this.
That's definitely a good point. I mean, because I know some of them without going back and looking at it just off the top of my head were for like the country tour. So now you got to think that the early show and the late show were probably the same, just about the same thing.
Yeah.
Both times.
And a little bit shorter too back then. As I recall, the show we went to was just a little over 2 hours because they had a whole country band that had to learn songs.
Right. And a lot of those were just sort of standard length. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like this is not going to be a jam out because they have all the country band, players and everything.
Totally. So anyway, so as far as that goes, like when you look at both of them together, like that's like an insane day of Ween. And the second show clocks in 108 minutes. So the first one's 93 minutes. So you're talking about in total 211 minutes, which that's 3.5 hours.
Wow.
So again, I'm not even sure if any single show ever got to that length.
Yeah.
Maybe a few got close, but they wouldn't have had so many songs. They probably had just had longer versions, like 30-minute loop chips and stuff. So anyway, dude, yeah, a lot of Ween, man, a lot of Ween. And the second show is 15 minutes longer, and it's got 4 more songs.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the second show's got a little bit more content.
Should we talk about some of the highlights?
Yeah, dude. They open with the Mollusk, which is another pretty common opener. So there's not that's a more common song, obviously, than Dancing the Show Tonight. So that's kind of like not not as cool. It's funny. Back to Bassum, which is pretty uncommon, which is a great tune. There's an Eagles chant. People Eagles, Eagles. Also, shout out to my birds for making it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man.
Go Birds. Tough loss. All I'm gonna say is they review all sorts of plays and all this stuff, and they can't get us. And then they do a face mask on Hurts, which helps contribute to the only turnover of the game, which basically cost us the game. So I'm a little bit
Here we
sour.
go.
I'm a little sour on the officiating. I'm not gonna talk about the last drive and that was it a hold or not. All I'm worried about is the first half of the game. That was totally. I mean, like, dude, you look at the replay and the guy's grabbing his helmet, and that had to contribute to him dropping the ball, having his head jerked around a little bit, and then they lost the game. Anyway, tough game, good game.
Let me just real quick, 2 seconds. I'm not a big football guy. I don't pretend to be. Let me just say one thing, okay? Seriously. No other team deserved to be there more than the Eagles.
Ooh, the Eagles rocked this year.
Yeah, they dominated the entire season. It would have sucked if they would not have made it to the Super Bowl in general. If they would have lost one of those shitty games in the fucking playoffs, that would have been the worst. So at least they were in the Super Bowl. That's the main thing about this season.
And yet, at the beginning of the year, really just getting to like the second round of the playoffs. I mean, doing better than the year before was my only thought.
Right.
At the beginning of the year. But then, man, by midway through the season, towards the end of the season, you start thinking, man, if we don't make the NFC Championship, it's a letdown. And then you start thinking, if we don't make the Super Bowl, this is kind of a letdown.
Right, exactly.
So anyway, back to the show. Someone does an Eagles chant before Back to Bassum. So I actually go and like look up and I find out that Eagles actually lost to the Jaguars earlier that day, 28-25. And damn, I forgot to. I don't remember if it was a home game or not. But anyway, so they just lost a 3-point game. And this is actually 2002, so early Eagles. We had a whole bunch of really good seasons back then. So this was actually a pretty prime time for Eagles as well. But it was just funny because someone's doing the chant. And by this time, it's, almost 10:30. So the game was over for hours. So the game would have been over like a few hours before that. So, but anyway, man, that's the thing about the Eagles, man. Win or lose, you love them. Win or lose, they're your team. So
damn right.
So anyway, so that was kind of a little thing. They definitely talk a little bit about Claude. After taking me away, they introduced Josh Freese, and
yeah, man.
Aaron introduces him, and then Mickey jumps in, and Mickey basically says Josh is filling in for Claude, who got seriously hurt in an accident. He's recovering. We dedicate this song, and they go into Jimmy. I'm sorry, waving my dick in the wind. He's like, "Oh, we dedicate this song to Mr. Jimmy Wilson. He's out there in spirit." And then he adds, "He's out there in a fucking wheelchair." And then he adds, "Actually, he's taking his first step." So it's kind of all over the map. But Claude, I mean, to be serious for a minute, like it was a bad accident, and we don't want to go into all the details on it, but man, he was laid up. He was definitely laid up.
Lucky to be alive.
And had to be in a wheelchair. Lucky to be alive, and had to kind of learn how to rewalk and learn how to do a lot of things. So, but they don't spend a lot of time talking about him, but they do mention it. So they definitely talk about it, and let people know what's going on.
Right.
Waving My Dick in the Wind is one of the songs where I could kind of tell it wasn't Claude on the drums. Because I also think about that's like one of Claude's like signature songs, right? Jimmy Wilson. And he does the whole, he's like tapping the
block,
the drumsticks. Yeah, the block and stuff. And so Josh does a good job of it. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it doesn't quite like hit as well as Claude does, which it's a credit to Claude as well, dude. I mean, Claude's an amazing drummer.
Right.
And perfect for Ween. And so this is one of his songs. This is one of those signature Claude tunes. Didn't quite hit it quite as well as Claude does. Ice Castles is a fantastic highlight. It's always a great highlight. It's a pretty uncommon tune. And they jam out Voodoo Lady. Josh Freese came to play for Voodoo Lady, which, standard. It's a standard, but I love me some Voodoo Lady. I think that was the first Ween song I ever heard, by the way.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, dude, what else we got this show? My highlight of the show, I think, is Sarah and then Spring Theme. They back to back. They don't run them into each other, but they're back to back. That to me is like,
yeah, man.
That's some rare stuff and some great songs.
You can hear somebody like 3 or 4 songs into it yelling for Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, they fucking bring it. So Sarah is fucking sweet.
Yeah, dude.
And then after that, Spring Theme, which Spring Theme was getting a little bit more play at the time, starting in I remember Rutgers, right? Was when they, 2000, when they started breaking that out. And it has a beautiful little, intro. Just really fucking sweet. So Sarah into Spring Theme. Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Sarah, this is the first time I ever heard Sarah. I don't know about you, because I know at this point, this is your 16th show. This is my 13th show. So you've seen a couple more shows than me, and not all the same, obviously. This is my first time hearing Sarah. And then also, I think only the third time hearing Spring Theme, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the third time hearing Spring Theme, and only the first time hearing Sarah. So especially Sarah, that's just so cool. And then, of course, you can hear some girl in the crowd. I'm gonna call Sarah. Fucking. I don't know. I don't mean. I'm not trying to be. I'm not a dick. I'm sorry. Whoever that was, if you're out there, if you're listening, give us your story. Did you get a hold of Sarah? Did you get a hold of?
I actually know the Sarah that he's talking about. Okay, good for you.
But that made me laugh too because, I didn't have a cell phone at the time. I think Amy might have. I didn't have it with me. I would have glommed on her phone for sure, but I didn't have it with me. But yeah, this is early 2000s, so I was basicly like a Luddite, and I'm like, I'm not getting a cell phone. What's that thing?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Who needs a phone on their body all the time? That's what kind of loser has to be contacted at any second.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nevertheless, people are there, obviously have them, and they're like, I'm going to call Sarah. So that's funny.
That was probably the one token girl in the crowd who had a cell phone.
Yeah. And it's funny, after Sarah, now this is, it's kind of ridiculous. Diener's like, is there a waitress around? And he's like, can we get can we get a couple Crown Royals and Cokes? And he's like, in pint glasses.
Yeah. So
there's 3 Crown Royals. And then he says 3 Crown Royals, and someone says, pretty heavy duty. And then he rips into the crowd. He's like, the waitresses tell me you guys tip like shit. So he's giving the crowd slap. It's probably just a joke. Who knows? But
it's probably just to get people to leave him a tip, to give the waitresses a good tip. That's his way of saying it.
It's funny because I even noted it in the notes, just a few songs late, about 23 minutes later, because I added up the minutes. 23 minutes later, Diener orders 3 more Crown Royals and Cokes.
In pint glasses.
So it's just dude, they're pounding them, man. Don't drink, guys. Well, don't drink too much, all right? Moderation, all right? Moderation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spring Thing's great. And then after Spring Theme, Mickey basically gives a shout out to the Bowery Ballroom and lets everyone know that playing there the next 2 nights, concerts for Claude. So he kind of lets everyone know about that. What other kind of cool highlights we got? Ooh Va La. I'm not too enamored. I mean, if I had to rank all my Ween songs, I don't know how high that would be up there. But it's a rarity, dude. It's only been played 19 times total. So that's pretty fucking awesome. I love that they play any rarities with Josh Freese. You know what I mean? That's so cool that they're like, you know what, dude? We're going to throw some of these in there. Because they could have just thrown a couple more commons or just played a couple fewer songs,
Well, I think at the time it was probably just another one of the songs that was sort of in the running for Quebec. I think there's one.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I think there's one foreign version of Quebec that it actually shows up on, like a nice Japanese version or something like that. So it's definitely
the Latvian.
There's definitely a B-side for it, an actual studio version of it.
Yeah.
So just kind of one of those songs that just didn't make the cut for the finished version of Quebec.
Well, it's all good. I love all Ween, but sometimes things are rare for a reason.
Yeah.
But it's still cool. I mean, that's what makes it cool. It's rare. You don't get to hear it a lot. If I heard it all the time, cool. I probably wouldn't appreciate it.
Right.
Because I just don't rank it up there with the top songs. But nevertheless, I mean, it's one of the rarest tunes played all day at this, because I think I Don't Want It was played the first time, and then the next rarest tune would be Ooh Va La 19 times.
Wow.
So it's definitely one of the highlights of the night. And then they roll into Booze Me Up, which is the B-side of Blarney Stone, basically. If this is the Beatles, then Blarney Stone would be McCartney's and Booze Me Up would be Lennon's, I guess. Because Lennon always had the B-sides. That's Bill Maher has that. I don't think it's not original to him, but Lennon was tired of having the B-sides, and so he quit the band. But anyway, now talking about the Beatles. But yeah, so it actually boozed me up right before Booze Me Up, and the song's all about drinking. It's like a drinking tune. That's when they order more drinks. So man, that's like 5 songs between orders. And you're playing music, so it's not like you're drinking while you're playing the music. They must have just been pounding those drinks between songs.
And I think he gives a shout out to, I'm going to fuck up his name. Is it George Altonen, I think? One of the guys from False Front, which is one of the Bill's bands. I think that's the George from the song. Me and George finished the Jack. So shout out to George.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's cool. That's funny.
If I'm making assumptions, which is this is a pretty obvious one. So shout out to him.
Nice. Let's see. Well, I can't put my finger on it. They don't do the intro. It's a little bit of a letdown on. I can't put my finger on it, but
pretty much just starts with the regular sort of beginning.
Yeah, but again, you got the replacement drummer. You gotta sort of make it a little easier on them. So I get that.
Yeah.
Zoloft is worth mentioning.
Definitely.
Because they play it twice that day, but the second version is totally better. It's several minutes longer, and it's just like totally like spacier jam. Like in the middle, Mickey's doing I can't even barely describe it. It's really experimental, like guitar and Glenn tickling the ivories. It's a really good Zoloft actually, and I thought it was cool because it kind of speaks to Freese had played it earlier, so now he's playing it better, right? It's like, let me play it once and I can play it the second time and it's only going to get better, right? So definitely Zoloft has played it both, but sorry, people who went to the early show and didn't make it to the second show. Definitely better the second time around.
Yeah, and it gets so spacey towards the end that there are people who think the song is over. And then because it just gets down to like nothing, where it's just like a pause. And then it's back to the drum.
Yeah.
So they sort of like stop and bring it back at least once. I think it might even be twice that people start like, cheering like it's over.
Well, totally. I mean, it's still a new song at that point.
Right.
And that's part of the song is that it like slows, it basically goes down to nothing and then they kind of bring it back.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's totally, in my mind, one of the big highlights of the evening. And Big Jim is always great.
Yeah, man.
So don't even worry about that. But then they bring down the house with Buenos Tardes Amigo. And it's good. It's a good version of it. It doesn't have, I don't think Aaron's really doing much on the guitar on this one. It's not one of those dueling guitar solo situations. So that doesn't make it a high point. But they jam it out. And they don't do a lot of jams all day. There's like 3 or 4 maybe, right? Like they don't do a lot with Josh Freese on the jam side.
Right.
But Buenos Tardes Amigo is one of them. And I actually have another little mini, just, quick little story about myself. I stepped out for Buenos Tardes Amigo, and I regret it on one level, but kind of had to because John and Peters is very smoky. And now you can't smoke in Pennsylvania bars. But back in 2002, you definitely could. And it was smoky as heck. And I had only quit smoking like a year and a half or something before that. I quit smoking tobacco. I haven't smoked it since. And this might have been the first or one of the first times that I was actually in like a smoky bar.
Yeah.
Like this smoky. Because I was trying to avoid it. Like, when you quit smoking and you're trying not to be around it and then you're not around it for a while, that heavy smoke in a bar really hits you. And you go home and you realize how much, you think about how much your lungs must be coated in this shit when you smoke it all the time, when you stink like it, when you leave a bar. But anyway, so I actually had to be like, dude, I have to step out. And I was actually like
Yeah.
feeling dizzy, dude. And like, oh man, I'm such a pussy. Oh, but like, I don't know, man. I was feeling dizzy from the tobacco smoke, so I had to step out.
Well, and just from the size of the place, just from the size of the venue, I remember it being bad, and I mean, I probably did still smoke at the time, so that didn't help.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I certainly remember it being a thing for sure.
Yeah, and this is like a 12 or 13-minute Buenos Stars Amigo, so I missed a pretty epic tune. And re-listening, obviously I could hear it from outside, but not that great. But re-listening to it now, the solos are great. Freeze is just like pounding out a beat, and Mickey's just blasting away at the solo in the middle. So it's really a good tune to end it. And again, sorry for the early show. This is a better finale. Someday is cool and all. Pizza Day. But but Buenos Stars Amigo in my mind is like bigger and better finale.
Yeah, it's more of a classic, ender.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, I mean, that was the show. That was the shows.
Well, I mean, so let's kind of do our recap of both
Yeah, dude.
shows and the whole day. Like we were mentioning before, there's just so many different things to this whole day, both of these shows, and just that sort of like addition to Brown Bass that are so unique. The first show with Josh Freese filling in for Claude, one of the only times where there's two complete shows in one day.
Yeah, well, you got some. Let me just quick add then. This is the one of 6 times Josh Freese is on drums, one of 7 times they played 2 whole shows in the same day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just such a unique sort of animal,
Yeah.
in and of itself. I mean, and again, like we had mentioned, with all the stuff that's been at John and Peter's over the years, it's kind of tough to see the whole band together at John and Peter's.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not that many people that can say that, I'm sure. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's a tough statement or whatever, but not as many people as you would initially think would have seen the whole band at John and Peter's, especially because around this time, like we mentioned, it's getting to be more rare.
By the time they really kind of get bigger as a band and more popular,
Mm-hmm.
there's only a few more John and Peter shows left.
Right.
In there, so of the 16, a lot of them are earlier, like mid 90s, maybe later night, whatever, like just before they got too big, because then they have to stop playing small venues.
Right.
And really, there's only 3 John and Peter shows after these two. And these were like surprise shows. So it's not like they were like planning to book them there.
Right.
Like far out, like, oh, let's put, they were like, oh, let's get some warm-up shows. Like, I'd love to hear more. It's cool to hear from the band, obviously, but I would love to hear more about, like how that all came together. Be like, oh, let's do these and let's make sure we do some warm-ups before Bowery, and John and Peters is the logical place. So yeah, dude, all sorts of cool stuff. Like those little intricacies about it, like make this a really like unique and special day for Ween. I know that I already mentioned this is the first time I heard Sarah. It's the second time I heard Uva La. Both of those I've only ever heard a few times each. So those are really rare for me. And as far as like highlights, one of the funny things I like looked up, because Zoloft is played twice and they jam it out. Zoloft is like 10% of this whole show. The whole day. This whole day is like 10% Zoloft. Isn't that crazy? Think about that. It's one song of 48 total played, and it's 2 songs of 48 total played, but it's 10%. So it's a heavy Zoloft day.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And to think that they still played one of the new songs for the first time, and they were still doing some of the new stuff like Zoloft. Transdermal Celebration is only the 3rd time played. What else? It's just there's no gap in the new things that are being like rolled out for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could sit here and be like, well, there's a lot of standards because it's a fill-in drummer and da-da-da. But no, like there's really like no like exceptions to the set list. They're still both great.
Yeah, it's a little light on the rarities, obviously.
Right.
Especially compared to today. I mean, the reunion shows are really heavy on rarities.
Right.
But even back then, like there definitely would have been more, but that all makes sense. And it's still all good. It's still tons of great tunes. But yeah, dude, seeing him at John and Peters is just, I think, a really special thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those meccas for Ween. Like you surely got to get there if you haven't. What else makes this thing all cool? I would, a few other things I guess would say. I would say, like, if you're looking to listen to these, I think the second show is better. I think the second show, with the exception of I Don't Want It, which is the first time that's ever played,
Right.
the second show is better.
Yeah.
So if you were gonna, be like, I want to listen to these, the second show is better, and it's actually better recording quality. Whatever they do with the levels and the setup, it makes sense that the second show would be better because they have it all set up in the morning and they can like refine it and like make it better. So whatever Kirk's doing, it's like the second time around, I just think it sounds better. And you got few more rarities. They're hitting their stride. Zoloft is better the second time around. You know, but all in all, like two great shows. I think the real bummer is, for a casual fan, is that the first one especially, it's just some of the songs. It's like you can barely hear the singing or you can barely hear the guitar on the recording. So it's kind of a bit of a bummer on that end.
Yeah.
It's funny. It is neat though, just to think like it's not a perfect recording. Like 21 years ago, right? Like little dive bar. It ain't a perfect recording, and that's life. That's life, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
C'est la vie.
That's definitely something that I'm sure Fred could fill us in on, and how like the room was set up for recording and whatnot.
But yeah, dude, that was the show. I would add like some of my final thoughts are just that it's really cool that even though Claude was hurt, that they had the sort of camaraderie and love to be like, you know what, we have these shows already booked. We should do a tribute. We should do concerts for Claude and try to raise some money to help him.
Hell yeah, man.
Because it could have been really easy to say, dude, these shows are booked. We're trying to record an album, but we lost our drummer. We have to postpone everything and just chill.
Right, yeah, let's just cancel everything. Yeah.
And this is really like the height of these few years. It's like the height of Ween's busyness and doing projects and like doing all kinds of things. So it really fits into that time that they're like, no, man, we got to keep on moving and we got to do this. Like in August, just within a couple weeks after the accident, they do a little charity thing for him where Instant Death opens, and then it's Ween, and then it's Sound of Urchin, and that's like a little mini like charity thing.
Right.
And then they're like, you know what, we need to get a drummer to do this for real. And then they get Josh Freese in, and like you said, like we both said, it's like so cool that they still play the rarities, they still play new songs even with Josh. And then the next day they're playing at the Bowery, and we were not there. Those are two legendary shows.
Yeah, man.
So pretty fucking cool. Definitely one of my again, even though musically not always the best, et cetera, et cetera. Just one of those shows where it's just like such a great memory that I got to put that up here as one of my top shows just because of all the stuff we said, all those other pieces that make it into it.
Yeah, just the fact that, we both made it to that late show. Like I said, I still can't believe that you walked in there.
Yeah,
I just
dude.
remember you walking in and just being like, Shane, and all of a sudden you were just standing next to me.
It must have been less than 4 hours earlier that I got off the phone with you. And I was almost 4 hours away, and it was like, get off the phone, boom, boom, boom. I'm on the road, park, walk, show starts.
Yeah.
And then that would have put the end of the show closer to midnight. The Goppers closes late, but I would have gotten home. Damn, I wish I would have asked like, I don't think she remembers, but I don't know how she got home or if she slept at someone's house or what.
That's the other thing I'm trying to remember is like, what did I do for like the next day? Did I actually like go to work?
Well, I probably had Monday off because
That's cool.
in the pizza shop business, there might have been someone else doing the Monday thing.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
And I think I also had a thing where basically first part of the week, though, my earlier part of the week, I was working the morning shift. And then for the weekend, I was like the night guy because I was the manager. I was like the main guy. So I cooked all the busy shifts. But yeah, man,
Wow.
that's a wrap. What a great memory. And Josh Freese, what an incredible drummer to get to experience that, a little bit of that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, just to see one of the shows with somebody else on drums and it being Josh Freese, I definitely am very grateful.
Yeah, dude.
To have been to one of those nights.
Yeah, if you think about over the years, replacement musicians, you got to see, I'm blanking on his name, but the keyboardist covering for Glenn or that one festival.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then, I can't think of any other times that we saw replacement musicians
Yeah.
besides this one. So there's not a lot of times that it happens.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that the other day too. Once Claude comes back, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top of my head, I don't think there's been any other members since from then in the end of 2002 until today. Has there been anyone else that's been a member of Ween for any reason?
Well, besides some special guests like Be Ill on stage or whatever for one song.
Right. But
No,
as
I don't
far
think
as the
so.
actual members of Ween playing the shows, I don't think it's ever been anybody else since then besides those 5 guys.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a wild time.
Yeah, unique moment in history for the band, for sure.
And we're if you want to hear more about Claude, we have an episode where we go in a lot of detail about Claude's solo band Amandla, and I'm trying to look up quick what episode. Oh, that's episode 47, so that's pretty recent. So if you want to hear more about Claude and things, we go into a bit more detail about some of this stuff when we talk about his solo band Amandla.
Yeah, and that's a cool conversation.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and yeah, shout out to Claude, and Amandla's great. And then also, just to kind of heads up, we're going to be having a special episode coming up here pretty soon where we're going to be kind of diving in deep and really addressing the accident in a little bit more detail, and the Bowery Ballroom concerts for Claude, and a little bit more of this time period. So we're definitely going to be diving a little more deeply into some of those details. We didn't want to like get off track, and we wanted to keep today's focus on these 2 shows at John and Peter's since we were at one of them. But hit us up because we're going to be talking more about it.
Yeah, we're not done with 2002 just yet.
Not quite. I feel like in fact this is the last show we were at for 2002. But yeah, dude, we'll be addressing the Josh Freese era and the Bowery Ballroom shows coming up. We're really excited about that. We actually had a nice conversation with Tomato and a nice conversation with Fred Moore about this time period and all the things happening. So we got a lot of cool inside info and shit that we want to share. So anyway, so stay tuned for that, listeners.
Yeah, coming soon.
Coming soon to a Spotify near you.
Well, thank you so much. Anybody that's listening to this, we love you. It feels so good to be back, and we're definitely planning on some more fun stuff for 2023.
I adore Mia Moore. And I'm just channeling my WD-40.
What?
Color Me Bad is the name of that band. Color Me Bad. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm taking us in the wrong way. But anyway, fans, love you. Thanks for listening. Shalom,
Yeah. Check us out on Patreon as well. A lot of great fun stuff over on Patreon. Help support the show. If you have anything to say to us, hey, drop us a line on Anchor, drop us a line on YouTube, anything you want. Twitter, all that bullshit. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So,
Hearing's good.
until next time.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace, everybody.